Imagine for a second, two countries that today are pretty much at each other's throats were once best friends. I mean, best friends. It sounds like something out of a spy novel, but it's the real, secret history of Iran and Israel. Today it's all threats and shadow wars, but not that long ago, their leaders were secretly meeting, their spies were working together, and they were building this incredibly powerful covert alliance. Okay, let's get into this absolutely wild story.
So just look at this contrast. It's totally night and day. On the one hand, you've got the situation today. Open hostility, fighting proxy wars all over the Middle East, constant back and forth about nuclear weapons. But then you look at the past and what do you see? A secret alliance. They're sharing top-level intelligence. They're even doing business together. It's a complete 180.
And that, right there, is the central mystery we're going to unravel in this explainer. How in the world did a deep, strategic friendship, a partnership that benefited both of them immensely, just completely fall apart and morph into one of the most dangerous rivalries on the entire planet?
To get that answer, we've got to rewind the clock. Because the foundation of this whole unlikely friendship was built on one of the oldest rules in politics. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
All right, so let's set the scene. After World War I, the massive Ottoman Empire is gone, and the whole map of the Middle East is being redrawn. By the 1940s, you've got this powerful new movement, Arab nationalism, which is all about uniting the Arab states. Then, in 1948, Israel is created, and it's immediately at war with its Arab neighbors. So all of a sudden, you have these two major non-Arab powers, Persian Iran and the new Jewish state of Israel, feeling pretty alone and surrounded.
And this slide just nails it. They were two outsiders in the region, and they were both looking over their shoulders at the exact same thing, this rising tide of pan-Arab nationalism. For Iran's king, the Shah, and for Israel, powerful Arab leaders like Egypt's Nasser felt like a huge threat to their very survival.
So Israel's very first prime minister, David Ben-Gurion, cooked up this really clever strategy. He called it the peripheral doctrine. The idea was genius in its simplicity. If all your next-door neighbors are enemies, just leapfrog them. Go around them and make friends with the other non-Arab countries on the periphery of the Arab world. And who was the biggest, most powerful, most important prize on that periphery? You got it, Iran.
Now, the way they kicked this all off was fascinating. In 1950, Iran recognizes Israel, which was a huge deal, but they didn't shout it from the rooftops. It was what you'd call a de facto recognition, basically an open secret. Israel set up a big diplomatic mission right in Tehran, but to keep the Arab world from freaking out, they just called it a trade office. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Everybody knew what was really going on.
And from that quiet, sneaky beginning, things really took off. I mean, this wasn't just a simple alliance. It quickly became a golden era of cooperation, with the two countries getting tangled up in all sorts of ventures.
And a lot of this partnership was deep in the shadows. We're talking deep state stuff. Israel's legendary Mossad spy agency actually trained SAVAK, the Shah's notorious and feared secret police. They were swapping intel on communist groups and Arab militants. Iranian fighter pilots were training in Israel. Israel was even selling Iran top-of-the-line military gear and helping them develop missiles. That level of cooperation only happens with absolute trust.
Okay, but this next part, this is the detail that will absolutely blow your mind. The biggest irony in this entire story. As part of a US-led program called Atoms for Peace, Israeli scientists literally helped train the first generation of Iran's nuclear scientists. Think about that. Israel helped build the very same nuclear program that it now considers its #1 existential threat. It's unbelievable.
It wasn't just spies and weapons, though. It was business, too. The Arab nations were boycotting Israel, so Israel couldn't get oil. What did they do? They get creative. Iran would ship its oil to an Israeli port, Eilat. Then they built a secret pipeline to pump that oil across Israel to the Mediterranean Sea. The result? Israel got the oil it desperately needed, and Iran got a brand new, super safe way to sell its oil to customers in Europe. Just brilliant.
And this all got very personal. You hear these incredible stories like how the Israeli Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion himself, would fly to Tehran for these secret meetings, and he'd supposedly land wearing a wig just so he wouldn't be recognized. That just shows you how high the stakes were and how close the personal connection had become between the leaders.
So, you've got this incredible alliance, built carefully over decades, strong as a rock. It seemed like it would last forever, but it was all built on a foundation that was about to crack. And when it did, the whole thing was about to come crashing down.
1 year. That's all it took to change everything. 1979. The Iranian Islamic Revolution happens. The Shah is out, and the new leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, he sees the world in a totally different way. He gets up and says, quote,
Israel is an enemy of Islam. The Shah was a traitor. And with just that one sentence, decades of friendship were not only over, they were officially redefined as treason.
And the change was whiplash fast. I mean, instantly. The monarchy that was so friendly to Israel? Gone, replaced by an Islamic republic that was hostile. That Israeli trade office in Tehran, the symbol of their entire relationship, it was taken over and handed directly to the Palestinians. Their leader, Yasser Arafat, was flown in and welcomed like a conquering hero.
So, the alliance is shattered. It's dead and buried. But the story doesn't stop there, because that broken friendship is about to sour and curdle into the toxic, bitter rivalry that we all know today.
And just when you think this story can't get any weirder, there's one last ironic twist. In the 1980s, Iran is in a brutal war with its neighbor, Iraq. And guess who was secretly selling weapons to Khomeini's Iran? That's right, Israel. Why? Because that old strategic thinking kicked in one last time. For Israel, weakening their common enemy, Iraq, was still a top priority. It was like the last ghost of their old alliance.
And this table just lays out the seismic shift perfectly. It's incredible. Before 1979, Israel is a secret strategic ally. After, it's branded the Little Satan. Foreign policy flips from pro-West to anti-West. And that nuclear program, what was once a project of modernity that Israel helped with, is now viewed by Israel as the ultimate threat in the hands of a hostile regime.
So, look, the revolution is what broke the relationship. But it was that nuclear program that poisoned it forever. For Israel, the thought that the nuclear know-how they once shared was now controlled by an enemy that wanted to destroy them. Well, that was the ultimate point of no return.
So there you have it, from a secret friendship to a full-blown shadow war. It's a history that's just packed with these unbelievable twists and turns. It really shows you how fast things can change in the Middle East. And it leaves us with one massive question. If a friendship this deep could turn into an enmity this bitter, what's the next impossible chapter in this complex history going to be?